As the war in Ukraine enters its second week, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging his fellow Ukrainians to keep up their resistance, even as Russia intensifies its attacks on major cities. Russian troops are in the Black Sea port of Kherson, and the region's governor says Russian forces are in control of the administration building. Ukraine's second biggest city, Kharkiv, remains under attack, and a Ukrainian official says the key southern port of Mariupol is surrounded by Russian troops. Meanwhile, a large Russian convoy of tanks and other vehicles appears to be stalled around 30 kilometers outside the capital, Kyiv. US and British defense sources say the convoy has made little discernible progress over the past 3 days.
Go home. These defiant residents of Melitopol are standing up to Russian soldiers after their city was taken. Russian troops have also taken control of the regional government building in the key Black Sea port of Kherson, according to the region's governor. One resident recorded the moment he opened his curtains to see a Russian tank in the street.
They are telling people to stay inside, shooting in the air. You hear the sounds. I think I should stop recording before someone shoots me on my hand.
Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, is still holding out, but Russia's bombardment has left its streets in ruins and dozens of civilians dead. Further to the east, the port city of Mariupol is surrounded after hours of shelling cut off water and power. In Kyiv, President Zelensky remains defiant. Wherever they go, they will be destroyed. They will not have calm here. They will not have food. They will not have one quiet moment. The occupiers will receive only one thing from Ukrainians: resistance. Fierce resistance. Such resistance that they will forever remember that we don't give up what is ours. But Russia's increasing attacks are sending more and more people fleeing for their lives, with the majority arriving here in Poland. The UN says more than 1 million refugees have fled Ukraine in just a week. Back in Kyiv, those who remain have been taking refuge in the city's metro stations for days. They don't know how long they'll have to spend down here, or what will happen when their food finally runs out.
For more on the situation in Kiev, let's bring in Sergei Petchakov. He's a former Deputy Minister of Justice in Ukraine and joins us from Kiev. Thanks for talking to us under these difficult circumstances. So what's the situation in Kiev today? How would you describe it?
Now, Russians have been pushed back from Kiev for a couple of days now, and they've been advancing from the north. And we know today that the small town of Bucha, that is right next to Kiev, has been taken back by Ukrainian forces, and there's a Ukrainian flag flying over it. So for now, it seems that Kiev is in a relative safety, and we only hear sirens now and then, but otherwise the city continues its life as it can in the circumstances of the war.
Do you feel that the pressure on Kiev, the military pressure on Kiev, has kind of subsided?
It indeed feels like that when we see what's going on in Kharkiv and Mariupol, where the cities and people are pretty much shelled and bombarded on a daily basis without a stop. It feels like we're in a safe haven in a way. So I don't know whether it's done intentionally or whether it's that the Russians have not planned anything longer than 1 or 2 days. But definitely we can see that Kyiv has an opportunity of a, safe nights and some sort of some relaxation moment.
So taking that into consideration, the mayor of Mariupol said today that Russian troops have encircled the town and are specifically shelling civilian infrastructure there. Is the Russian strategy maybe adapting to a different aim?
Look, they've changed their strategy. They wanted a quick win in a nice little war. This failed completely. So now they are resorting to war crimes because that is the only way to terrorize the population into subjugation. They have no other ways of, battling the defense that not only the armed forces of Ukraine, but pretty much every ordinary citizen is given to them. So I think that the strategy now is terrorizing the civilian population, raising the number of casualties on Ukrainian side to the level that would be unacceptable to anyone, try to send the shockwaves around Europe and forcing Ukraine into signing some sort of truce on Russian terms.
So what would you describe, how would you describe the spirit of the people there in Kiev? We're getting reports that everybody is preparing Molotov cocktails and ready to fight. Is that true?
Look, I mean, those who wanted already left the city. I mean, specifically women, elderly people, children. So those who chose to stay here are well prepared and anxious to defend our capital. There's no panic. I mean, everybody's, following the orders from our city council. We have a night curfew. We are self-organized to look after our neighborhoods. Some people join the territorial defense that are going around the streets, looking after what's going on, being able and ready to stop Russian army if at some point it enters the city. And as well, those people who are there sitting as, infiltrating within Ukraine, because we've seen them sending people in disguise trying to sort of, either take a city or do some sort of a terrorist attack in the streets. So nobody's scared here. There's no panic. People are well organized. People are following. We are following the events as they are unfolding and ready to defend the capital.
Now, President Zelensky has given another speech urging his fellow Ukrainians to keep up the resistance, to keep fighting. How important is Zelensky personally for this defense of Ukraine?
Look, he's a commander-in-chief of Ukrainian army. I think at this point there's no political differences. It's for sure the whole nation united, working together under his command. At the same time, I think that something that Russians are mistakenly again thinking that if they do something to Zelensky, they will beat the resistance in Ukraine. Ukrainians are used to living without their own national states. So we see lots of people self-organizing, not waiting for any orders from the government, from the armed forces, defending their villages, their streets, their hometowns. So while it is important and we all united under the command of the president, I think Ukrainians are used to acting autonomously, and we've seen that in the footage from all over the country where people are taking initiative and going against the invaders. So I think that Russians are miscalculating because no one will stop the resistance, whether they control the capital or not.
Thank you very much, Sergei Petrukov, a former Deputy Minister of Justice in Ukraine. Thank you. And here are some more headlines related to this war. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says his country will push on with its mission to, quote, demilitarize Ukraine and stop it joining NATO. Speaking on Russian television on Thursday, Lavrov accused Western countries of preparing for a war against Russia and raising the prospect of nuclear weapons. Police in Moscow have apparently detained a group of children for laying flowers at the Ukraine embassy. That's according to a social media user. Some were as young as 7. People were also arrested in St. Petersburg. A monitoring group says more than 8,000 anti-war protesters have now been detained in the past week in Russia. The International Paralympic Committee has banned Russian and Belarusian athletes from competing at the Paralympics. That reverses a previous decision just a day before the Games begin in Beijing. On Tuesday, the IPC had said athletes from the two countries could take part as neutrals. German carmaker Volkswagen says it will stop exports to Russia and halt producing vehicles there. It joins several other car companies now boycotting Russia over Ukraine. Some of the world's biggest technology companies, clothing brands and industrial giants have now cut all ties with Russia while various shipping companies have stopped deliveries.